say to their friends, their colleagues, that's Paul, that's Kate, that's that's the guy who, that's the girl who, right? That's the person who. What is the end of that sentence? What do you want people to be saying about you? And then how do you make sure that everything that you're doing in terms of the way you present yourself to the world feeds into an authentic presentation of you being the person who?
I just want people to say he's almost as good looking as Ryan Reynolds. That's
there you
go.
Then
there I'm good. I'm good.
There you go. You've got the good angular jaw. You got it all going on, Paul.
And you underlined, I think, a really good point for the real estate investor listening, because one of the big challenges real estate investors face is building trust. No like trust, but trust in a big way, because you're using or potentially investing other people's money. You got that video and it took all your concerns away. It can be as simple and as easy as that. Not saying it's necessarily just easy, but something as simple as that. And all of a sudden there's that connection and you feel safe and you feel heard, or whatever else is going through your mind at the time. We connected because I heard you speaking about email. How important is email as a marketing communication tool?
So I would say it's kind of a default, which is a blessing and a curse, but it's absolutely important. And it depends, again, on what you're doing. So if you have the kind of business where you need to communicate to hundreds or thousands of leads to be able to get one person to get back to you, or to get 10 people to get back to you, it can be really, really important. So it really is sort of, in some ways, a quantity game. But I believe very, very strongly when it comes to sort of managing your list. So let me sort of start there with sort of the list, so whether you're talking about a list or a pipeline, and then we can talk in a second about what's a pipeline, but whether it's a list or a pipeline, bigger is better, but quality beats size. So bigger is better, but quality beats size. And what I mean by that is, so however your stakeholders come to you, so maybe they come to you because you serve on the board of some sort of real estate investment association. And so people know you through that, and you go to all the conferences. And so there's sort of a natural sort of, there's this whole pipeline of people who have access to you, or you have access to them. Or maybe you have an email list where people have opted in on a form on your website, and you've got a couple hundred or a couple thousand or 10,000 people on that list. First of all, don't be impressed by yourself if your list is really, really big, if it's not high quality. So it has to be the right people who can do the right things with you and for you. So quality matters most, but obviously quantity matters too, because if nobody's listening to your message, you're really wasting your breath. So that's important. In terms of the emails themselves, I think there's a reason why in my book, Think Like a Marketer. So my book is really about 5 principles about how to create sustainable, profitable growth in any kind of business. And there are 5 principles for making decisions in that regard. Principle number 1 gets right at what you're asking about, Paul. Principle number 1 is communicate for connection and meaning, not just to transact sales. Now, some people might say, yeah, but there has to be a point to your email. Well, yes, every now and then there needs to be a call to action. Every now and then you need to do something that's making your cash register ring. But people won't hand off a signed contract, won't say yes to a meeting, won't click through and hand off a credit card number, etc., unless they feel like you care about them, which is really what you were talking about with these videos, right? They want to feel connected. Do they feel some sort of real connection to you? And have you provided meaning to them? Have you given them value? Have you helped them solve a problem? Have you connected them with a resource? Have you given them 3 tips for something that maybe is sort of weighing on their mind? If you focus on sort of giving away some of your best information, your best advice, you communicate for connection and meaning. And by the way, sometimes that is an email like, hey, happy birthday, right? That's connection, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a reason why on my birthday, the first if I might not get cards from my friends and family, but I'm going to get one from my car dealer. I'm going to get one right from my accountant, and I'm going to get one from my financial planner. And they're always the first people, right, who reach out. And they're not trying to sell me anything. It's not like, oh, and by the way, like if you're thinking about trading in your car, like nobody does that. They just, hey, happy birthday. And this works in very high involvement things. I do a lot of research in the higher education space, and we ask prospective students, like really like sort of wealthy, intelligent kids who are like juniors in high school, what's the coolest thing a college or university has done in trying to recruit you? And they rarely talk about the expensive gifts or the really cool sort of sizzly things. They say things like, my admissions manager at such and such university called me on my birthday just to say happy birthday and ask what I was going to be doing that weekend. She didn't even remind me about like turning in my application or anything. I thought that was really cool. Right? So whether you're 17 or 47 or 67, we all care that people care about us and they want to communicate it with us. So be thinking about that. I would suggest a couple of filters. So say you're going to be writing some emails soon and you're thinking, what do I write about? So first of all, you ought to know what you ought to be writing about, because you should have some data about your list. So if it's been a while or forever since you sent out a quick little survey and asked them to sort of rank some topics in terms of how important they are to them, et cetera, you should do that. A little market research goes a long way. And so you should know what they care about. But if you don't, or even if you do, there are a few filters that I suggest. So when you're thinking about what should go in your email marketing, I look for what would be, and sort of these are my sort of shortcuts. What would be so cool? What would they freak out about? What would they find entertaining? What would they find educational? And what would make them feel good? And let me sort of break that down for you, Paul. So be thinking about, as you sit down to pen that really cool email newsletter or that article that's going to go on LinkedIn, but that's also going to get distributed maybe in a different format to your email list. Ask yourself, my stakeholders would think it was so cool to get this, right? Okay. If what you're sending is not something that you think will delight them, that they think is really so cool, you're wasting their time. Okay. Or this tip is so game changing that people will freak out with gratitude if I share it with them.